What up, y'all? So we're going to be talking about the 3 trades that I took this past week that overall took us from, I believe, like 52,000, or I think I was at 51,869. It took us from that to now being at 49,767. Matter of fact, just so I'm not wrong, let's go look at it. So we're at 49,867. We lost these 3 trades. Okay, so let's do some math. So in the 3 trades, we lost $2,479.06. A complete shit show. So if we add 2479 to 49,768, we would be at 52,248, right? This is what we were sitting at in the past 3 days. This is what we lost. All my fault. I can't say anything. This is my fault, and we're about to walk through why it was my fault. I'm really pissed off, but hey, this is why we're making a video, so we learn from the mistakes. So in a span of what, 3 trades, really 2 trades, because these 2 trades, we're going to talk about it, you'll understand, and then these 2 trades. All right, y'all, so I did the math. I had to cut y'all off and had to think. So we were up 4% on the trading account. We then lost 3.5% on these 2 trades alone. On this trade, we lost 2%. I wasn't risking 2%, but price filled me in at a lower spot. I was risking only 1%, I believe. No, 1.2% on this trade. It is what it is. We're about to talk about it. First pair we're going to start with is GBP NZD. All right, so starting off with GBP NZD. So going into replay mode, we're going to go back to where we entered, and then we're going to walk through. All right, starting on the daily time frame, we can see how GBP NZD, we were in a bearish trend, right? We can see the breakout, we have our lower high, we have our lower low. In between our overall bearish trend, we can then see price form these structure points. I like to call them structure within structure because the overall trend is bearish. We're just forming a lot of pivot points inside of our trend. So as soon as price started to form this bullish push, before we even broke above this zone, I look towards the left and I can see that price has been treating this recent break of structure as resistance, support, resistance, support, resistance, resistance, right? So as soon as price had the break above this zone and we saw price get back above the zone, I then wanted to see buys back towards the upside based off of the rejection and based off of how price reacts towards this area. You can see how the daily broke above. This allowed the 4-hour time frame to have the break and the retest of this structure, right? So we can see the 4-hour have the break of structure. We can see the price then have the pullback, which allows the 1-hour time frame to have the same structure as well. You can see the 4-hour break bullish, the 1-hour break bullish. As soon as price had this pullback on the 4-hour time frame, I just wanted to see price have the break and retest of the recent break of structure. We can then draw out our structure like so. We can see how price went from this bearish trend to then bullish due to the break of these highs. Price then had the retracement tapping back into the recent broken structure. Once I can see the 4-hour establish the break and retest, I then drop towards the 1-hour time frame so I can find my structure zone, an area of interest where I'm looking to take these trades off of. So since we're in sync, the 4-hour and the 1-hour in this bullish trend, my job was to find my structure point. And at the moment, you can see how price was trending bullish. We had this area of interest where we recently broke out of. I was looking for price to form the retracement towards this recent structure break. You can obviously see this is when I grab that box tool. I drive my box tool at the recent structure break. You can see that structure break be treated as support / resistance, right? So this is a well-respected zone. Price gets above, we form support. Price gets below, we form rejection as resistance. So this is a well-respected zone. So by the time price had the retracement, you can see what happened. This break of structure occurred on the 1-hour time frame. When this break of structure occurred, I should have walked away. Why? Because now my 4-hour is bullish, but my 1-hour is bearish, which is throwing me out of sync, and I shouldn't be trading this pair. Keep in mind, I like to have at least 2 time frames in sync as I'm looking for a position. At first, we had the 4-hour and the 1-hour in sync, but as soon as price performed this break of structure, breaking past these higher lows, we are no longer in sync with the 4-hour time frame due to the 4-hour being bullish and the 1-hour being bearish. Keep in mind, hold on, I'm about to show y'all something. taking a look, right, you can obviously see this is what I look for as I'm looking for top frames in sync. If I don't have the daily and the 4 hour in sync, I simply use the 4 hour and the 1 hour. So what I mean by that is that you see the daily 4 hour, 30 minute, and 15 minute. This is for the overall trend of the market when I'm going with the wave. When I'm looking for counter trend moves, I simply change the daily towards the 4 hour, this towards the 1 hour, this towards the 15 minute, and this towards the 5 minute, and I use this same sequence, right? The same exact thing. Going back towards GBP NZD, you can see how when the daily time frame broke back above, we are not in sync with the 4 hour time frame. We have the daily time frame that is in this bearish trend, and we have the 4 hour time frame that is now in this bullish trend. And even if the GBP NZD was bullish on the daily time frame, we don't look like this, right? Price did not form this type of formation. But as I drop down towards the 4 hour time frame, you can see as soon as the 4 hour had the break towards the upside and the retracement back down towards the recent break of structure, the same thing happened on the 1 hour time frame. Going back towards that picture once more, you can see how this matches up with this, right? We have the 4 hour break, we have the 1 hour break, we have the 4 hour retracement, we have the 1 hour retracement. Everything is in sync. So after I saw that, as soon as we see this break of structure on the 1 hour time frame, we are no longer in sync with the 4 hour time frame, meaning that we should have never even been interested in still trying to take the setup. Due to me being, scared and really just being scared to miss out on this trade, this is where I took an entry based off of my 5 minute break of structure, right? So you can see on the 5 minute time frame, in order for the 5 minute to have the retracement, it has to go from bullish to bearish, which allows the 4 hour time frame to ultimately just have that retracement back down. So knowing that, once price tapped back into, this is when I went towards the 5 minute time frame, and on this 5 minute time frame, if the 1 hour time frame was still in sync, I would have found an entry like we've done here. But knowing now that since the 1 hour time frame was not in sync, we should have never entered this trade. So as soon as price had the 5 minute flip of structure around here, this was the first time you could have entered this trade, but we were out of session to trade, and I was not interested in trading this pair just yet. As soon as price formed the second break towards the upside, again, I was away from my setup, not ready just yet to enter this position. Around 10 o'clock, 10:35, I think I found a position around 11:15, 11:30. Price was still at my area of interest to where I wanted to see price react from in order for me to catch position. And then price then performed another break of structure back towards the upside, showing me the continuation of this uptrend movement. And then I found my entry based off of the breakout. My stops just at the lows of structure. And then targets, like always, since I'm using my 1 hour structure zone, I'm using my 1 hour highs. In this case, we should never caught this position, and you can obviously see based off of this 1 hour being out of sync with the 4 hour time frame, we lost this trade. Yes, we had a push towards the upside, but overall price has recently went back inside this bearish trend, which ultimately matches back up with the daily time frame, and we just missed this trade. This was just a stupid trade. We should never enter this trade. And you live and you learn, right? The fear of missing out. I had to just swallow my pride and really just walk away. I didn't want to miss out on this trade, which was the stupidest thing I could have done, because that affected us and resulted in a $299 loss. The only reason it was a $299 loss instead of the ultimate $500 loss, because I was reaching 1% on this trade. We only took 0.5% loss. This was because I came to the realization once price gave me the break, I wanted to close, and we was around here when I closed. So 250. Next trade we have was USD JPY. This pissed me off. This was recently, actually. So USD JPY. The reason we took this setup, if I'm going back towards the daily time frame and I'm looking at price, how I had structure marked off, I had the break of structure being here, my highs being here, my lows being here. So when I'm drawing structure out, this is how I had it. You can see I was looking at price, right? We had the bearish to bullish flip due to the break of these highs. I have my higher low, I have my higher high. So price is bullish in my eyes, right? And so once I saw that, I then saw price reach our area of interest of our higher lows, but price did not break past this point, showing me that price is respecting this uptrend structure. We have rejection, 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 rejection. And once I saw this last rejection, not only did we have the rejection, but you can see how price had this bullish engulfing past that previous bearish candle. This allowed the 4-hour time frame to perform that break of structure. As you all can see, you can see us go from bearish to then bullish due to the break of the structure. And not only did this break structure on the 4-hour, but you can see how the 1-hour was also in sync. So now, knowing that the 4-hour and the 1-hour, we are in sync, I simply just used the 1-hour last structure break to look for price to pull back to take my trade off of. After we saw the 4-hour perform the break of structure, we allowed price 1 to form the retracement and form the tap back into on the 4-hour time frame. Once we've done that, we drop towards the 1-hour time frame to find our entry zone. How do you find your entry zone? You just look for the last recent break of structure. Overall, you can see how the trend was bearish. We have our break of our lower high being here, forming our new higher high, forming our new higher low. The last structure break is around here. Our overall switch of bearish to bullish trends happened here due to the break of our lower highs, but the last structure break was here. So this is when I grab my box, I put my box in this area, and we just wait for price to tap back into, form that rejection. As soon as price tapped back into our zone, this is when I dropped towards the 5-minute time frame, and I was starting to look for entries. My first original entry came around here. You all can see where price had the break of our lower highs being in this bearish trend. Price performed that break. We found our entry, stops below, targets above. Looking at this position, it wasn't the best position. We were far away from my zone. It didn't really give me a clear entry signal. Again, I had the fear of missing out on this trade, and it resulted in a loss. So once we entered this position, I decided to close. You can see I drew out my exit right here. This is why we only lost $140. This is because going back towards the 1-hour time frame, going back towards the daily time frame, instead of me using structure like so, I didn't reanalyze structure, right? So as I'm drawing out, you can obviously see I like to follow the chart until it gives me a sharp turn in the other direction. As I'm following the chart, would this be a sharp turn? No. So I keep going. Is this a sharp turn? Yes, because we have a huge move in the other direction. Same thing as I'm moving. This was not a sharp turn in my eyes. So we continue. Sharp turn, other direction, boom, right? So drawing out structure like so, you can now see why I was not interested in taking this setup. Don't get me wrong, the setup still looks valid if I'm being honest. I missed it. I'm not even gonna lie, I missed it because my eyes were in a different place. If I was looking at price like so, you can see how price, yes, we are bearish, but you can see how price reaches this area, right? Yes, we're not tapping into 148.45, but we reached this area, we formed the rejection, and we continue. Price formed that rejection. Once we formed that rejection, like we talked about, it formed that bullish engulfing, which allowed the 4-hour and the 1-hour time frame to perform that break of structure back towards the upside. If I was paying attention, this is a trade we should have taken. Like, it's just, I can't do anything about it. We live and you learn. So as soon as price tapped back into, like I told you all, I didn't like my first original entry, which is why we ended up losing. But price still presented us with another opportunity. Just because you lose a trade, it does not mean that trade was invalid. You just have to you probably just got in, or the trade was probably invalid, right? But it's not always you're wrong. You probably just got in a little too early. So if I was looking at price how I should have been looking at price, I would have recognized, hey, I'm still valid. We're still in this bullish trend on the daily, the 1-hour time frame until we break these higher lows. We're still in this bullish trend on the 4-hour time frame until we break these higher lows. So everything is still telling me, hey, we're still good to go towards the upside. We just simply got wicked out of this trade. So as soon as price wicked us out, and like I said, if I was paying attention and I wasn't, in a sense, in my feelings, because truth be told, I was probably upset due to me knowing that I missed this setup and that it was just really all on me. I just had to take accountability, and I had to go through those emotions of taking accountability so I can get to this point where I can make this video and show y'all what I was really thinking about and what was going on and how we ended up missing this trade. So yes, we got taken out of this trade, but like we just talked about, everything is still maintaining in a bullish trend. The 5-minute time frame then went again, forming this bullish momentum, now back to a bearish trend due to the break of these lows. Once price started to head back towards the downside, But you can see price tap back into this area of interest where we treat it as support, again being our entry zone, and then price perform the bearish to bullish flip. You can see us break out of our lower high structure. We could have found our entry just like so, stops at the low of that structure, and then the same target point being our 1 hour highs. And you can see if we would have paid attention on the second position, not only are we bringing back a 2.41% in return, but you can see clear as day, you could have squeezed out a lot more of profit at 4% in return. So you can't do anything but blame yourself. You have to not be emotional when you're trading and stop looking at the number side of it. Stop looking at, I believe I was looking at the number side of it, which is the reason again we missed this trade. If I was not looking at the number side of it, this would have brought us back risking around, this was a counter trend setup. I risk only 1% on a counter trend setup. On a correct trend, the correct movement, I would probably risk around 1.5 to 2% being a higher probability of winning, since we are going with the Florida market. But since we was looking at a counter trend setup and I did not want to risk too much, this would have brought back at least like, I'll say 1,000 probably. No, I'm risking 500. Can't do nothing about it, bro. Again, it's my fault. It's just my fault. So yeah, this was a good setup that we missed. We lost at 140. We should have won. Is what it is. Next trade we had was Euro CAD. Euro CAD was bad as well, bro. It was a bad week. I can tell you that for sure. So daily time frame, yes, we're bullish, but looking at it from the weekly standpoint, we are underneath a zone where we have reached a zone where price taps back into, it rejects, and it falls immediately. We haven't been back towards this area since 2018. So I wasn't expecting price to have that bullish push towards the upside to break past. You can see the bearish engulfing pattern that we formed on the daily time frame at that area of interest on the weekly time frame. This allowed the 4 hour and the 1 hour time frame to perform that break of structure. But as you all can see, yes, the 4 hour is bearish. The 1 hour, however, is not bearish anymore due to the breakout of these highs. You can see now going from bearish to then bullish. I still decided to enter this position, again being greedy, having that fear of missing this trade, and then this resulted in a loss. Why? Because the 1 hour is bullish, the 4 hour is bearish. I don't have my time frames in sync. We simply walk away. I did not walk away, ended up losing for around $1,100. And then our last trade, AUD USD. I'm not really upset with AUD USD because this was a really good trade. I can't do anything about it. This is the trade where I didn't get wicked out. I was just completely wrong, and I'm okay with being completely wrong. This is a trade I would take 110% of the time. Yes, we are bullish on the daily time frame, but if I zoom out, you can see how price has formed an area of support / resistance, and then we have gotten back below that area. This allowed the 4 hour time frame to perform the break in the retest setup of that recent break of structure, which also allowed the 1 hour time frame to do the exact same thing. You would think price had the break of these lows, but I like to get my tool, draw out my structure like so, and if price does not give me a clear break underneath my body candle, I simply count this as a rejection, and then we look for price to have the retracement before that continuation. Same thing that took place on GBP JPY on a recent trade, again, that we missed out on. You can see how price around here, you would believe that we had the break of structure, but drawing out our zone like so, you can see how price just reached here, formed that rejection, had the retracement, tap back into, and then had the push resulting in a win, right? So it's the same thing that happened with AUD USD. We're looking for the same exact setup. So after price gave us the retracement, you can see how we tapped back into our entry zone. We went towards the 5-minute time frame, and we simply waited for the break of structure. So fast forwarding, you can see where price gave us our entry. Boom, we found our entry based off of this break of structure, stops just above, and then since we're using a 1 hour area of interest as our structure point, we use those 1 hour lows as our targets. So this is what we were looking at, but if I exit out, you can also see how price ended up just reversing. We did have a push in profit. Price then had the pullback, formed this area of support, and then had the continuation, completely being wrong about this trade. I like this because you can see us have the switch from bearish to then bullish due to the break of these highs, making this trade invalid. I love when I lose and price can give me a break of structure on the 1 hour, showing me that this is now a invalid setup, and I'm okay with that. I'm simply fine with that. This is why we ended up losing around $850. So last 3 trades, where we lost around 2180. You can obviously see right here, trades lost 3. It was bad. I'm not gonna lie, it was a complete shit show. It was really bad. But you live and you learn, you go from it and you learn. I mean, you go from there, you keep pushing. So pray that y'all learn something from my mistakes. Don't repeat the same thing of being scared to miss a trade, because obviously when you break your rules, it hurts bad. Nobody goes through it but you. And I had to come to that realization that I'm not trading for y'all. If anything, I'm trading for myself. I'm just showing y'all how I trade. And if you use it, cool. If you don't, cool. If you like it, amazing. If you don't, amazing. Like, I'm just documenting my life and my trading journey, and I have to remember that at all times, because truth be told, I get caught up with trying to, in a sense, quote unquote, impress y'all. Like, I really care about impressing y'all. I'm not living for y'all. I know it sounds disrespectful, but I'm not living for you. I'm living for Christ. And if I continue to remember to put him first, live for him, no one else but him, have that relationship with him, I wouldn't be in these situations where I'm doing this mistake of, well, not this mistake, because we went over this. This was a good trade. But the other two, right? The other two mistakes where we enter a position where we shouldn't have entered that. It was an invalid trade setup, but we were still scared of missing this trade. I had the greed of making money, and I didn't have the wisdom of actually taking the correct setup, right? Just looking at the possibility of it instead of the numbers, right? We trade technical analysis. We don't trade numbers. We trade the chart, candlesticks. This is what we trade. This, what we're looking at, is what we trade. We don't trade numbers. So the less I look at the numbers, the better chance, well, the less you look, us, let's just say that, the better chances of us growing and improving. So like I said, even at this point of my life with trading, I still have those days where I have greed, I have those FOMO, but I document it. So one, I can just recognize it, I can take my accountability, say it out loud, and then, like I said, just post online, y'all see it, do whatever you want with that information. So that's all. Like I said, I pray that y'all enjoy. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. Stuff like this will be posted on this channel 24/7. I don't care. It will be here. I'm letting you know. Y'all enjoy. I'm gone. I'm going to catch y'all in the next one.